I've been supremely excited to get this book in right here. Isom number 3. Now, look at how thick this book is. This is a thick book. It's a very thick book. I said on my X account, if you're not following me on there, go follow the Thinking. I said to myself, this is like 7 comic books in one. Even though there is a not a large, but a distance of time in between Ripperverse books, I definitely am well fed when I get these books in. I want to say this: whatever you think of Eric July, he gets a lot of flack online. I don't have to defend him, he can defend himself. But I will say, whatever flack that the company gets, whatever people say about the company, none of that stuff has dissuaded me, right? And it's not because of any kind of sense of loyalty per se to the company. What they are producing is worth the money I spend. I have not enjoyed reading comic books this much in a long time. Now, that doesn't mean the Marvel comics and the DC comics that I do happen to enjoy currently that I'm not enjoying. I enjoy these books, but these Ripperverse books take me back to when I started collecting comic books. And there are several comic book runs and comic book issues that I remember explicitly and specifically. I remember reading Hardware. I remember when Milestone Comics first started. I was there. I collected these books. I still have them in some of my short boxes. I remember the excitement of these new characters that had never been seen before. I remember when Image Comics first started. I was there. I bought these books. I remember that excitement of something new starting. Now, social media wasn't around back then. And I'm sure if social media was around, Jim Lee, Wills Pratachio, Todd McFarlane, Scott Williams, Brett Booth, all of these guys that were part of Image. I know I'm forgetting a lot of names. There's other people. Rob Liefeld. They probably would have been blasted. And they probably were blasted at the time by many people. But I was, 12 years old, 12, 13 years old, somewhere around there, 13, 14, wherever. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in print as far as like magazines and newspapers. So none of that stuff would have reached me. We live in a different time where it's easier for these critiques to reach people, new people coming in, because, everything is online. I get it. What Eric has done with the Rippaverse is inspiring. You can believe what you want. You can critique, the books. You don't even have to like the books. No, look, that's the thing. And I've said this so many times, and I like to reiterate this because I think this is heard but not understood sometimes. We all have our likes and our dislikes. That is not going to change. That's not going to magically go away. There is no amount of convincing that I will be able to do if you just do not like the Ripperverse for whatever your reason is. Maybe you don't like Eric July and you think his commentary is trash, and because of that, you won't invest in anything that he's put out. Maybe you follow other creators who've criticized him and you think they're better. Look, there's no convincing I'm going to be able to do. It is what it is. Whatever it is that you believe, whatever it is that you think about him, that's where it's going to stay. Now, there are people who will be more open-minded that will watch my videos and say, you know what? You've talked a lot about this company and you've really bigged this company up. Let's see if it's worth the hype. Some people are going to buy and go, nah, not worth the hype. Some people are going to buy and go, yo, you weren't lying. I have found this same thing with some Marvel and DC books that I review. I've reviewed Marvel books that some people buy and they're like, yeah, I didn't like that. And some people are like, yo, you weren't lying. This was fire. We all have opinions. We all have likes and dislikes. The one thing I will say objectively, I don't think this is a subjective opinion. I really do not. You might disagree. The quality in the books, art and story that's being put out by the Ripperverse is unseen in this generation from a brand new company just coming out at this volume. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean that there are not other good comic books out there, independent comic books that are just as good, that are put together very well. Battle Brick Road is one of them. I think I'm going to do a full deep dive review on Battle Brick Road because that book, I cannot wait for issue number 3. Battle Brick Road is fire. But at this volume, the amount, and I'm going to get into this a little bit in this video, the amount of books that's being put out by the Ripperverse and the volume at which they're coming out, it's hard to keep up. That's a good problem to have. I love this. When I first started reading these books, I was like, okay, I like Isom number 1. But how much can you talk about one book? I don't like beating a dead horse, right? So, and there are people who, they continue to talk about the book number 1 at the time. And I have no problem with that. But me, I just can't do that. I just need more content. I talked about that book. It was really good. Then I moved on talking about some other things in comics as my channel transitioned. If you go back and watch the original videos, it was more not necessarily politics, but it was politics and news, which I like some of that stuff, but I'm going to keep it real with you. It's hard to keep up with that and be accurate when you work a day job because news changes so fast. And I thought it was irresponsible to have a channel covering that stuff if I didn't really have the time to dig into this stuff like you really should if you're going to be covering it. But comic books is inconsequential in the sense that this is entertainment and it's fun. I can cover something and be wrong and come back and go, hey guys, I was wrong about this thing. This is not integral to life, right? If I'm wrong about a character or wrong about a story, I can come back and correct that. It's not an integral story to how life plays out in the real world. But what was I getting at? All over the place. What this company has done, and that's what I was saying. The volume at which these books are being put out, it's even changed my purchasing habits. I used to, when a collection came out, I would purchase right away. Now there's so many books, I don't have to do that, right? I can wait. Like I got Isom, Zaylin, What Kills Must Die, The Great War of Separation 2, and The Horseman number 1. I got all of those books at the same time. I ordered them, and I ordered them all together before the Horseman was finished with this collection. So I waited. Isom was out. People were reviewing it and talking about it. I avoided all the chats. I avoided all the videos. I avoided everything. It was worth the wait. You can tell, and I said this in my X post, with every Ripperverse book that's put out, with every new story that's written, with every new book, the art is getting better. The stories are getting better. The universe is getting more expansive. It's getting more intricate. I can tell Eric has definitely been talking with Chuck Dixon, the Saska sisters, Mike Barron. He's been getting some inside scoop on how to craft a story and how to bring this together. Isom number 3 was fun. And here's the thing. If you've not read the book, it's going to be some spoilers. There have been biblical influences in comic books. That is not new, right? There have been comic books that have pulled from biblical stories to influence how a character is shaped, to input that into how this story is framed. But I haven't seen it done like this. And I think, so here's the thing. Powers. There's only so many powers you can create. There's only so many new powers you can come up with, right? So what you'll see at Marvel, DC, Image, and independent comics, you'll see a lot of the same powers rehashed, done in unique, different ways. That's cool. I have no problem with that. I don't expect a new comic book company to create some being with powers that I've never seen before. Now, it might be done in a new and interesting way, but a lot of this stuff has been done. that doesn't mean it can't be done again. The way the biblical influences play on this universe, masterful. And I didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming. Yes, Isom has a cross on his costume, but that doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. And I knew that going into the book. I was like, this is a cool design. I don't know what that means. I know what it means now. And I'm going to get into a little bit of this and tell you, man, Eric July, you are cooking. My boy, you are cooking. What you're doing in this universe and how you're putting this stuff together, you know, different people, their powers, where they came from, magnificent. I like this. I am genuinely excited about these books, genuinely excited. So I wanted to show something to show you what I mean. This is not going to be my, you know how I do the deep dive walkthroughs. I will do a deep dive walkthrough of this book where I read every page, talk about some things that I think. I believe I've done that with Isom 1 and Isom 2, if I'm not mistaken. If I've not, I'll get to that before I get to this. But there's one part in this book, and so Eric said that this was some of Cliff Richard's best art. Yeah, he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. So you find out that Isom's mother is the one with the powers. Now, if you read the Great War of Separation, part 1, which I got part 2, I haven't read it yet. I was under the impression that it was Isom's father who the powers came from. No. It was his mom. And I had no idea. This is the part of the book where I got super excited. There are not many people that possess the ability to have their beliefs influence what is in their books, but not shove it down your throat. And I'll give you an example. And I give Eric July super credit for this, despite what people say. This shows he understands artistry. I am not a libertarian. I personally do not align. There's crossover between what I think and believe and some libertarian ideas, but I find most libertarian ideas to be lacking. I'll be honest with you. There's some I like, and there's a lot I don't. There are principles in this book that you can tell are a result of his libertarian leanings. Why do I say that? I say that because I've always said, and I maintain, I stand by this. If you have a belief, it is impossible for that belief not to shine through your creation. The key is, do you possess the ability, even with those beliefs shining through, to not shove it down people's throats? And Eric July has done that. He has figured that out. You can say what you want. You can criticize him if you want. There are industry professionals that have been doing this for 20 and 30 years that have not figured that out. This book was fun. At no point did I feel like I was being preached to. I could see his beliefs and his thoughts come out in his creation because it is impossible for that not to happen. But it wasn't done in a preachy way. And I enjoyed every page. So listen to what his mom says. And this got me hyped. She says, your intentions are just as important as your actions. When our ancestor was healed in Galilee, one person in each generation was blessed. That's, if you don't know, I have a Bible channel. I've mentioned this before. If you'd like to follow that Bible channel, you can let me know in the comments. I'll post the link down there. I won't post it if you don't really want to go to the Bible channel, this comic book channel. But anyway, there are so many thoughts I had as a result of that right there. There are so many things that happen in the Gospels. I was thinking, could it have been this person or that person? Now my theory mind is going crazy. And he did this in such a way that, again, it's not preachy. He didn't shove it down your throat. And when it was thrown in there, it was like an atom bomb of creation. And I was like, yo, maybe this has been done in comic books somewhere before, but I don't know if I've seen it. And I don't know if I've seen it like this. I think this is very unique to what Eric July has done personally. And you can see a lot of the action, a lot of the splash panels. I tell you what's fun about this book. When you think about comic books and you think about Mr. Fantastic, the Human Torch, the Invisible Woman, the Thing, those names are synonymous and we love those names now. But I can guarantee you when those names were first introduced, people were probably like, the Thing, the Human Torch. Now, of course, these were released in the 60s, so it was definitely, or was it 50s? Man, so these are definitely more accepting names. They were more fitting, but comic book names are strange. A lot of them are strange. So there's this character here, and his name is Lepredo. And I laughed not because it was bad, because this is part of the enjoyment of comic books. It's things sometimes that are silly, sometimes that are a little over the top. This is what you have to realize when you go into sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, and a lot of this stuff. You honestly have to suspend reality to some degree. I don't bog myself down with reality when I'm reading comic books, because you already have to suspend reality to believe that these powers exist in the first place. So I don't have a problem with stuff like this. And I like this character. And one thing you see in this book, again, there's going to be spoilers. There's a lot of things that happen in that cave. Oh, man. Oh, man. Like I said before, Bloodruth is not my kind of character, but I like the connections between her and Isom. And I'm going to have to go watch some of those Bloodruth #1 reviews to get more on that. Isom got busy in this book. He got busy. He got that rematch with Santuan, and him and Santuan actually kind of became friends. I kind of see an Avengers style team up somewhere in one of these Ripperverse books. I see it happening with Alpha Core and everything, and a lot of these people, because there is something being set up in this greater universe. So here's you see where Isom faces Lepredo. However that said, I'll have to get Eric July to or watch the stream where they went over this book so I can see exactly how that's said. And like I said, you see Isom get into it. You see the action. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you something about Cliff Richard's art. This is what you have with the Ripperverse. On an NBA team, you have your AAA players, your players that are like can shoot the lights out. And you have some of your bench players that are way above average. A lot of people don't realize this. You look at people on the bench in the NBA and you think, oh, them dudes is trash. No, there's just so much quality that the bench players, you would think they're trash. Then they start playing. Go play one of these bench players in the gym and see what you got. They'll shoot the lights out on half your city. Like, these bench players are no joke. Why'd I bring all that up? What the Ripperverse has built on their team is a solid starting lineup. And I'm not saying this to say that Cliff Richards is the bench. That's not the comparison I'm making. The comparison I'm making is there's different levels of art at the Ripperverse, but so far from what I've seen, none of it is trash. I don't open these books and think to myself, oh man, this is going to be one of those books. I'm pleased with every single one. And Cliff Richard's art in this book is a standout. The best art out of all the books. This book made me so excited about what happens next with Isom. You have no idea how excited this made me. He faced Lepredo. They thought they got Isom up out of here. They didn't know, not so much. You see Santuan return. I like this. Like I said, I'm not doing a full read through of the book. That will be coming, Lord willing, here shortly. I just wanted to show you some of the panels, show you some of the work. And the reason I do this is I think anyone who would objectively view these books, if you hear someone say, oh, they're trash, man, I get it. You don't like it. But to say that it's trash, I believe that's a false statement. You can say you don't like it. I'm not saying that this is going to be your style art. There's a lot of styles of art I do not like, but their quality, it's just not my taste. And I can objectively say, no, that's good art. I just don't like that style, so it's not my taste. And then you find out, man, the woman he that started this whole thing, he went to save her. She has powers. This story took a turn you did not expect. I did not see this coming. This was definitely not what I thought. Not what I thought at all. Like I said, the way this book plays out, and the last page, you see my man, what's his name? Shaldrin. Shaldrin, I think that's how you say his name. Where's that page at? So you know that there's going to be a rematch between him and Isom. Because you remember in Isom number 2, he killed the young lady, and that's what made Isom retire. He just couldn't take it after that. You know, seeing somebody die on his watch. So yeah, that rematch is coming, and I think Isom is going to bring the pain to Shaldrin. I cannot wait for that. So here's what else I wanted to do. I wanted to go to the Ripperverse website and I haven't covered a lot of what's going on in the Ripperverse in a while. They've released so many books. You got Norfolka here, which I'm definitely going to buy. And that's another thing. Like I said, purchasing habits have changed. I don't have to purchase during the collection. And there's a lot of people looking at the numbers and making comments about the numbers. Most of the books I purchase now are not during the collection. It's after this. For several reasons. One, I'm really appreciative of the fact that he does all of these different covers and they're actually limited. And sometimes I'm like, all right, yeah, I definitely want to buy a limited edition cover, so I'm going to get it on a collection. But yo, I'm fine with the mass print cover. Why? Because I am enjoying reading these books. I'm not buying these books just to collect. I'm buying these books because I actually enjoy this universe. So yeah, Norfolka, Glorious Death, number 1. I can't wait for that. I ordered Yaira number 3, Ripazine number 4, and already Ripazine number 5. I'm like, yo, they're moving fast. And now he has a speedster in the Ripperverse. Now you might say to yourself, well, this is a copy of DC and this is a copy of, whatever. Again, inspiration is part of comic books. When people make comments like that, I'm just going to tell you what I think personally. I'm like, okay, you must not have been there in the 90s when Image Comics launched. If you couldn't see the Marvel influence in almost every Image comic, it was unmistakable. When you look at Wildcats is Jim Lee's version of X-Men with a different name. This was obvious, right? You look at Cyberforce. Cyberforce reminds me a lot of X-Force. Like this wasn't a surprise. At that time, I think people had a more balanced view of comic books and a geek space in general, and there was no problem with that. But anyway, Ripazine number 5 already. Yo, this, like I said, the volume and the speed at which he's putting out books, you might not think it's a big deal, but again, look at how thick Isom is. This is like 132 pages, I think. I think it's somewhere around there. It's got to be. I didn't count the pages, and I think that's what Eric said before, was somewhere around 130 pages. That is a huge book. That is huge. So when you got, let's say there's been so far how many books this year released? Oh man, I want to say like five already, 6, maybe 6. 6 books at, let's say, at least at a bare minimum 60 or 70 pages. Imagine if those were floppies. I'm not even going to try to do the count in my head, but that's a lot of books for an independent comic book company that's doing big things along with publishing other people's books under Ripperverse. Eric July is inspiring. There is some people that just have, you can't put your finger on it. It's that it factor. You can't account for that. You can't skill that into something. When I met Eric July, I'm going to tell you this. It's one thing to see a person online. It's one thing to see a person do things online and succeed. That's great. I love seeing that. When I met him and I told him this, like, nah, you got something. He has something that is not, you can't purchase this. There's an it factor that he has, and it has touched the Ripperverse. To me, it is reminiscent of Stan Lee. You have some people that have this infectious personality. I challenge people to this. And I'm saying, do this kindly. If you have a problem with Eric July, if you have had thoughts about him, his beliefs and his commentary, I get it. His commentary is animated. Not everybody knows how to take that. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm used to people speaking candidly. That doesn't bother me, even if I disagree. I'm not offended by that. When you meet Eric July, I can almost promise you, if you're an objective person, you'll go, nah, I was wrong. And I'm not saying that I was in that position. I already knew. When I read Isom #1, I was like, oh, homie got something. I knew it. When I met him, I was like, nah, this is out of here. This is out of here. Isom #3 was so enjoyable. I cannot tell you how enjoyable this is. If you've not picked up this book, I'm telling you, you are missing out.